they say that an addict has to hit rock bottom before admitting that they have a problem. And after watching Nick Rekieta's steady decline over the last few months, and after hearing the news about his recent arrest, I was hoping that this would be a huge wake-up call for Nick. I was hoping that this would inspire Nick to turn things around. I was hoping that this was rock bottom for Nick. Not because I wish any ill will towards the guy. I don't know him, but I like him. He's funny and talented. I was hoping that this would be the beginning of a new era and that he would turn his life around. However, judging by his recent social media post, it's very clear that he is not ready to take accountability for anything that happened. Now, I want to be very clear here before I go any further. I'm not looking for an apology. Nick doesn't owe any of us an apology. Nick damn sure does not owe me an apology. Who the F am I? And if you think that Nick owes you an apology, who the F are you? So that's not what I'm here looking for. It's not what I'm asking for. It's not what I was expecting. However, I did expect him to at least to take some sort of accountability for everything that had transpired. But instead, he is going the route of, oh, everyone's got it wrong. No one knows the truth. No one has the full details. And listen, this is not a situation where we need the full details to understand that there's a problem. I understand that some of you want to look through every piece of legal documents. The dude would get blacked out drunk, nodding off on live streams nightly, allegedly going and doing huge rails of coke on the side during his bathroom breaks that would sometimes last like an hour. The steady decline of Nick Rekieta has been well documented by Nick Rekieta himself. No one needs the full details, at least not me. I don't need the full details of his recent arrest to know that there's a problem here. And I saw that there was a problem, and I'm sure a lot of others did too, well before the arrest. So everyone who thinks they need to hang on every single detail about what transpired when Nick, his wife, and I don't even want to get into who the other lady is and all of the other stuff that's been revealed. But we don't need all of those details to know that something's wrong. Now, an argument that is being made is, oh, Nick can't take any accountability because he will incriminate himself. He can't admit that he has a drug problem. He can't do this. And this is how I know people watch too much lawtube. You're watching too many people who pretend to be lawyers on YouTube give out legal advice. Listen, this is an open and shut case. Nick Rekieta doesn't have any legs to stand on. It's not like he can beat these charges. What is he going to say? The bag of coke grew legs and it just walked into my bedroom along with a bunch of ketamine and a bunch of other stuff. I have no idea how it got there. Nick Rekieta admitting that he has a problem and maybe checking himself into rehab is his best bet. His literal best bet. Trying to fight these charges are only going to make things worse for him. But let's go ahead and dive into this first post-arrest, about the news. So hey, obviously, a lot has happened. I'm sorry, for legal purposes, it must be reiterated that the sorry is for the disruption and is in no way related to any pending legal matters. That said, please realize that no one has the full story or picture on anything. It's possible no one ever will. Nothing reported is accurate, and that's not their fault. I've seen so many supportive messages. Thank you for that. I'll still be doing stuff. I'm home now. Stay tuned for show announcements and stuff here on Locals. Nothing reported is accurate. Are the videos of you nodding off drunk and allegedly possibly high out of your mind and possibly maybe jerking off, are those not accurate either? I mean, like I said, we have way more stuff that we can look at to see that there's a problem as opposed to whatever transpired on the day that he was arrested. Now, the cope that's going around, a lot of people's excuse is, oh, Nick's a lawyer. Nick knows better than to say anything or do anything wrong that might, backfire on him. Nick's a lawyer. Of course, he's not going to admit he has an addiction problem during a pending case. Nick's a lawyer this, Nick's a lawyer that. Nick's a lawyer. He knows better than to say too much. Yeah, Nick is a lawyer. And he should have known better than to, I don't know, maybe get blacked out drunk on live streams every night. Maybe he should have known better than to allegedly be doing coke while live streaming. Are we not thinking about that? Nick knows better. Did he not know better than to not do those things? Did he not know any better when it comes to maybe locking your guns up and not leaving them around places where his kids can have access to them? He's a lawyer. He should have known better, right? But now, people are just really dumb on the internet. So now it's, oh, Nick can't say this. He can't take any accountability. Nick was just on a live stream the other day, literally trashing the judge that is overseeing his defamation case and the judge that will now be overseeing this case. So let's not sit here and pretend like Nick is known to be making the best decisions in the world, at least for right now. Because over the past few weeks, it's obvious that he hasn't been making very good decisions. So now all of a sudden, no, Nick's a lawyer. He knows better, but he didn't know better, when it comes to any of these other things he's charged with or any of the other things that he's been partaking in lately, right? But I gotta admit, even though I'm rooting for Nick, I'm in Nick's corner when it comes to this situation. It's also kind of hilarious watching some of the reactions to this. Because, for one, a lot of these lawtubers, these YouTube lawyers, they're exposing themselves as the idiots that they are. And it's also funny watching people think that, Nick needs to fight these charges. Nick can't say anything because, this is an ongoing case. They really think that Nick is going to be able to prove that somehow these drugs just winded up in his bedroom for no apparent reason. So I honestly think it's idiotic that everyone is pretending like this is one of those cases where everyone needs to keep their mouths zipped shut. Everyone needs to walk on pins and needles. Be very careful what you say. You don't want to give the cops anything. Never mind the fact that they literally found the drugs in your bedroom and there's no way in hell you're going to be able to deny that. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to prove that they didn't belong to you. No, we need you to just be really secretive about this. Now, there are plenty of good lawyers out there that would recommend for their client in this type of situation to go ahead and check themselves in rehab now. If you're dealing with a real problem, and Nick is obviously dealing with a real problem, all legal stuff aside, your life is more valuable, okay? Your life is more valuable, and if rehab is going to save your life, that may be your best bet. Also, there's plenty of information out there. You all can do the research yourselves. I don't think I should have to do all of the work for you, but there's plenty of research out there that shows that people who take accountability when charged with drug charges, people who take accountability and they go to rehab and they start showing an effort to clean themselves up, usually they get a lighter sentence, and usually they wind up getting their kids back faster than people who take the harder route. But it's clear that Nick wants to take the harder route, and a lot of his retarded lawyer YouTube friend buddies are hyping him up to fight these charges, and that is a recipe for disaster. Because let's think about Nick's current situation. I don't think that Nick is currently in the right state of mind. I don't think that this is the sharp Nick that we were dealing with a couple of years ago before, obviously, his demons took over, okay? So we're dealing with a Nick that's allegedly all jacked up on coke and Molly. And, these substances, they give you a false sense of invincibility, okay? So Nick is walking around here feeling like he's on top of the world right now. Okay, he's all skied up, probably, allegedly. Feeling like Scarface, okay? Nick Rekieta is currently feeling like Scarface. He feels like it's him against the world. He's ready to take everyone on, say hello to my little friend, which is really just a little bullet of cocaine. He is ready to take on anyone. And instead of his YouTube lawyer buddies kind of bringing him back down to earth, like, Nick, maybe you're just a little high right now. There's no way in hell you're going to beat these charges. No, they're hyping him up to fight. They're hyping him up to take this head on. And anyone with common sense, it's absolutely ridiculous that none of these YouTube lawyers are saying this. Anyone with common sense knows that if you take something like this to trial and you waste everyone's time when it's obvious that you're guilty and you don't take accountability, you are going to get a harsher sentence. Okay, all of these fake YouTube lawyers, okay, they're out here pretending like Nick is facing 25, 30 years, who knows? Nick isn't really going to sit a single day in jail if he takes accountability, takes probation with mandatory piss test and maybe, mandatory rehab. Nick is not looking at 25 or 30 years in jail. Nick is looking at maybe a year or two on probation and a few months of rehab along with mandatory piss test every month. But instead of Nick taking that and admitting that he's an addict, he wants to fight these charges head on because he's hyped up by his YouTube buddies that all just want to cover the trial and make money from it. He wants to fight these charges head on, where he will ultimately receive a harsher sentence, and it will be harder for him to get his kids back, assuming that they decide to take his kids away for the long term, which I'm hoping that's not the case at all. But, this is just a recipe for disaster, and it's crazy to me that a random guy sitting here next to a popcorn machine can see the train wreck ahead of us. Yet all of these lawyers are pretending like, oh, he actually has a chance. He should do this. He should do that. No, you guys are setting him up for failure. And it's just ridiculous, y'all. But I do know there are some good YouTube lawyers out there, so don't get me wrong. And I do know that Nick Rekieta has associated with some pretty good lawyers in the past that I've seen. So hopefully, they can reason with him and he doesn't listen to some of these other idiots that are hyping him up to self-destruct. But like I said earlier, I was just hoping for some sort of accountability. I don't expect Nick to come out and be like, yeah, I'm guilty of everything. But the way he's been wording things like everyone has it wrong, none of you know what you're talking about. We all watched the live streams of you freaking tweaking out, dude. Like, please get help. Get help for you. Get help for your kids. And earlier I said that Nick doesn't need to apologize to anyone. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe Nick owes an apology to his kids. Maybe Nick owes an apology to the family members that are now having to look after his kids. Hell, maybe Nick owes an apology to his wife, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous that 3 people went down for 1 bag of coke. You would think that at least one person would just take accountability so the other people wouldn't be charged with it. But because there was no accountability, everybody had to go down. Now, of course, the other woman, April, her charges were dropped, which is kind of mysterious. I don't know if she's turning on the Rekietas. I don't think that Nick Rekieta would say something to get April off, but allow his own wife to go down with him. But I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to this story that I don't think any of you are even ready to wrap your minds around. And I'm not even going to cover some of the weirder stuff going on. But as of right now, I'm just hoping to be a voice of reason when this story is already going crazy and people are just offering the worst advice that I could possibly imagine. His own friends are literally online laughing at his mugshots, encouraging him to do more drugs, saying there's nothing wrong with allowing his kids around drugs and stuff like that. So I do think it's important to have a voice out here that's not a complete freaking retard. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and always remember to remain opinionated.